Methodology of Humanities, Module 3, Narration and Representation. Narrative Modes of Thinking. A narrative is a non-random sequence of events that convey some kind of an action in time. It is an act of telling and communicating events to another through various modes, which could be words, through painting, through music, dance, films, and the like. People resort to different ways to convey their ideas of a certain experience that they have had or experiences that they expect to have or wish to have. A faithful reflection of truth is not the objective of narrative. Rather, it is a convincing rendering of an experience or feeling which could be real or something that is desired for. Myths, memories, explanations, excuses, novels, memoirs are all narratives. In the essay titled The Narrative Construction of Reality, which was published in 1991, the American psychologist Jerome Bruner states that humans organize their experience and memories in the form of narratives. Narratives are important because we make sense of the world through the stories we tell, hear, or read. It is one of our main ways of communicating feelings and experiences. Catherine Kohler Reisman, according to her, people lead storied lives. This is a statement that she makes in her book Narrative Analysis, which was published in the year 1993. She says that people lead storied lives, which means we understand our experiences by linking them through narratives. It is something that we do constantly while trying to remember something, trying to communicate something, etc. Narrative is one of the important ways of understanding and communicating the reality we live in. In his essay, The Storyteller, published in 1936, Walter Benjamin, the Jewish philosopher and thinker, describes a storyteller as one who takes random experiences from themselves and from others and make solid, useful and unique works from it. This is something that we can see when we listen to the interview of Meena Kandasamy, where she talks about her novel, her recent novel, When I Hit You. She says that her objective in writing this novel, which was about an abusive marriage and about abusive relationships in general, she says that catharsis was not her objective to write that particular novel. She says that she wanted to take all the hurt and pain and shame and suffering and distill it or transform it into something which is beautiful. This is what she says. I quote Meena Kandasamy. The process of writing was a kind of alchemy, to take the horror of the violence, to dwell in it and shape that into an intense moving sentence. I made an abusive marriage into an art object, and that is how I left it in the end. So, unquote. Here, a traumatic experience in life has been transformed into a narrative. Similarly, In the novel, The Storyteller, which was written by the Peruvian writer Llosa in 1987. This novel is again about a narrator who narrates the life of Mechigango tribe, which is a tribe in Peru, and it is about their folk tales and cultural practices, which is narrated in the novel. As we see through all these instances, narrative is relevant as it helps one make sense of one's own self and the world around them. Life imitates art far more than art imitates life, as Oscar Wilde would say in his The Decay of Life in 1889. Now, what is narrative mode of thinking? Are there different modes of thinking? Does everyone think similarly? If not, what is the relevance of the narrative mode of thinking? This section, which will be discussed next, is largely based on an essay by Jerome Bruner titled Narratives and Paradigmatic Modes of Thinking, along with citations from other writers. Jerome Bruner identifies between two different modes of thinking. The first one is the logico-scientific mode of thinking or the paradigmatic mode of thinking, and the second one is the narrative mode of thinking. Each of these modes of thought, according to Bruner, are ways of organizing representations in memories and of filtering the perceptual world. Perceptual world is the world we see. These are different ways in which people know and describe events around them. Both these modes of thinking, they differ in their procedures for expressing the perceptual world. In the logico-scientific mode, we look for the if-then clause or the cause and effect sequence, which means that the cause for a certain event or a certain effect ought to be given. To take an example from the text, the king died and then the queen died of sorrow as a result. Here in this sentence, we are given a reason for the death of the queen, foreclosing any other interpretation or meaning to the sentence. The queen died of grief following the death of the king. Coming to the second example given in the text, which is the king died and then the queen died. Here, two people are described as dead. However, since we are not given any cause for their deaths, the sentence can have multiple interpretations. It is up to the reader to understand the sentence in a way that she feels about it. It could be that the death of the king and queen is quite unrelated, that the king and queen belong to two different kingdoms and that their deaths were coincidental, or that the king died of remorse. There could be any number of understandings of this sentence because it doesn't foreclose imagination by framing it in some cause-effect structure. This is what constitutes the second mode of thinking according to Jerome Bruner, who describes it as the narrative mode of thinking. The logico-scientific mode of thinking establishes a universal truth, while the narrative mode establishes a verisimilitude of reality. The logico-scientific mode analyzes things in a way that is context-free and has universal appeal. On the other hand, the narrative mode does it in a context sensitive mode with a focus on the particular, or with a focus on our everyday forms of expression. It is more immediate. The logico-scientific mode, the objective of the logico-scientific mode of thinking is to know the truth, while that of the narrative mode is to complicate the very idea of experience that a person has. It is temporal. The narrative mode, it is temporal. It is not of a timeless reality, unlike the logico-scientific mode. This is because it deals not with universal truths, but with everyday experiences. Narrative mode is about the working of human intentions in a real or possible world. Hence, as we already said, it is temporal and not of timeless value. The logico-scientific mode is through the operation of causes and recent correlation. We have already seen the example where we have given the reason for the death of the queen, which is the death of the king. Grief following the death of the king. So there is a correlation between the deaths of both these people. Now, since narrative mode is built around the vicissitudes of human intentions being acted out, it uses a full range of speech acts. You have various forms of speech acts. You have various forms of expressions, expressions of pleasure, expressions of sorrow, etc. Then you have speech acts that speakers use to commit themselves to some future action, which, like I'll be back, we'll not do that, etc. So you have all such a huge range of speech acts that is used in the narrative mode of thought, which is not there in the logico-scientific thought process, because there thinking works around only expressions that allow unambiguous utterances. There it is more of, there should be clarity, there should be correlation, etc., where expressions are not very important. Narratives depend on a mythologically instructed community who will know how to assign interpretation to what is said. It depends on external influences. So this aspect of the text has been evocated by post-structuralists also, who advocate open-ended narratives which allow the readers multiple ways of understanding texts based on their cultural specificities. The concept of the death of the author by the French critic Roland Barthes, where he states that a text is not just a product of an author or any truth that the author wishes to state or tell. There cannot be any single intention or truth that is of the author's alone in a text, according to this particular idea, the death of the author. Instead, it is up to the reader or the readers who, in their reading of a particular text, comes up with new interpretations of the text. The text employs symbols which are read, and since the function of the text is to be read, the author is irrelevant. Meaning is generated in the process of reading a text, which is an active rather than passive action. However, a logico-scientific mode of thinking discourages such active process, or it is unnecessary there. Such active process of reading is unnecessary. It's considered to be unnecessary in the logico-scientific mode of thinking, because it closes the text to any further interpretation. In another book, S.Z., Roland Barthes differentiates between two forms of texts, two kinds of texts, a readerly and a writerly text. Where he says that the texts that do not demand any special effort to understand or which forecloses any multiple thought process, he calls such texts the readerly text. And the text that demands an active effort on the part of the reader is called the writerly text. There have been earlier attempts also to understand such modes of thinking, different modes of thinking. Wilhelm Dilthey, a German historian and philosopher, differentiates between science of nature and science of humanity. The first one, according to Dilthey, which is the science of nature, it seeks generality, while the science of humanity is about uniqueness. Science of nature is guided by methods of science and logic, and the science of humanity is a search for the meaning of historical and personal events in their richness and complexity. The psychology of thought has given more importance to the logico-scientific mode of thinking about how mind comes to know the world, represent it, avoids errors, etc. However, what is often construed as irrational or erratic makes sense in a narrative mode of thinking. One is often trained to be more interested in what is called scientific, how it was taught that to study how a scientist came to a right conclusion, how a scientist came to invent something, to know about that was more important than to study how a novel was published or how a novel became a bestseller and the like. Studying the narrative mode of thinking is, or understanding, focusing on the narrative mode of thinking is important in order to understand the ideological underpinnings that make certain narratives and authors bestsellers while making certain other authors or certain narratives remain unacknowledged. Chinua Achebe, the Nigerian writer, for instance, in his An Image of Africa, Racism in Conrad's Heart of Darkness, published in 1977, describes how racism was one of the very important reasons for Joseph Conrad's short novel Heart of Darkness to be numbered among the half dozen greatest short novels in the English language. This selective acceptance of certain narratives is one issue that even the Marathi-based Dalit writer Sharan Kumar Limbale has also addressed in his book Towards an Aesthetics of Dalit Literature, which was published in Marathi in 1996 and later got translated into English. What he says is casteism in society determines to a large extent the acceptance of narrative, which narrative should be accepted, which narratives won't get accepted, etc. He talks about how Dalit writing was accused by the Savarna critics and writers of lacking in literary merit, and how Dalit writers were charged with being disrespectful and using offensive language. The Savarna literary public was reluctant to accept Dalit writings and considered them to be not literary enough or not worthy to be read. Women writers also had to use male pseudonyms at a point of time as narratives written by women as well as women who wrote were at the risk of being denounced by the society. A narrative mode of work doesn't work with any established notion of rationality, but based on the reader and her socio-cultural context. Narrative thinking is rooted in a context because it understands that meaning emerges within a specific context of communication and representation. Narrative thinking is also a practice one adopts when one wishes to make sense of the past. A past that is told in the cause-effect structure tends to leave out certain communities, certain memories, certain realities. Narrative thinking helps fill the voids and gaps that are present in such pasts. Magical realist writing, for instance, which is often associated with Latin American writers, was, for instance, used to give expression to a reality which was beyond the purview of reality as per Eurocentric discourse. It challenges binary oppositions of what is real, what is unreal, or what constitutes real and what constitutes the unreal. It contests idea of rationality of Eurocentric discourse, which was reluctant to accept anything of non-European culture as knowledge or relevant knowledge. Similarly, you have the concept of rememory by Toni Morrison, which was used. It was used in her novel Beloved for the first time. It is used by Morrison to narrate the African American traumatic experience of slavery and racism, which doesn't find expression in the white American histories or narratives. Hence, narrative mode of thinking invites the reader to fill in gaps, to imagine connections, to develop other patterns, and to speculate on other forms of experience.